Yes. Hello everyone, what is up? My name is Degal, and today I decided to do another Let's Read. Why? Because I want to get better at English before I go to drama class and embarrass myself. Not even 30 seconds and I've already stuttered over my words. That's okay though. Today I wanted to be reading one of my stories called The Rat in the Raincoat until I get permission from other people to read theirs, because I don't want it to be just my stuff. I want it to be other people's stuff. That way, it'd be like a little adventure for me and you across the screen. And yeah, so last time I talked on for a bit too much, but so I'm gonna try not to do that. Instead, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into this. If you guys know, on Wattpad, I did do this as a graphic novel, or the prologue, the original prologue anyways, but yeah, this will be linked down to the description below if you want to read it for yourself. Right now I am currently working on the sequel to this, which is The Rat and the Signal, and yeah, we're almost done with Signal. That means we are going to be going on to the very last story, which is The Rat in the Tower, and without further ado, let's get started. I am super excited about this. An eerie silence filled the lower part of the maw, the soft swaying of the submarine-esque boat hardly being noticed. The smell of blood and death smothered the air of the lower levels, deep in the lower colony's territory and camp. Marigold, squeaked a small rat, her rough brown fur almost being blocked out against the light outside from an overhanging lantern. The other didn't respond, curled up in her nest, back turned to the rest of the den. Her pink tail curled around the small cold bodies next to her belly. Marigold, come on, let's get you some fresh air, she suggested. Marigold didn't speak, laying still. Her black fur was matted, wet circles around her eyes from her crying. Her paws gripped the bedding under her, her ears drooping down with obvious hurt and sadness. The smaller rat shuffled her paws slightly. Mary, please, she muttered. Leave me alone, Violet, Marigold whispered, her voice hoarse and quiet from her previous crying. She lifted her head, looking over to her sister with her dark doe-brown eyes. Violet looked at her for a moment, a frown on her muzzle. She didn't push the rat on, turning and walking out of the small hidden nest that was in the metal walls. The once formerly large colony was now something to laugh at. How could a colony of rats this small once be so large and empowering? They were located in the bottom of the maw, where they could run freely without any worries. Almost without worries. A dark gray rat stood next to another one, a soft black-colored female. Mom, Dad, she isn't coming out. Any word about Rowan? Violet asked. Their mother, Mulberry, shook her head. No word. We can't tell her. She's already lost too much, she whispered, drawing up her pale-colored tail close to her, ears back in an upset manner. She pressed against the other, her mate, Thistle. He was captain, the leader of the colony. His fur was still wet from blood, his and his opponent's. Scars covered his flanks and right shoulder, yet there was an air of comfort in his words. Don't fret, dear. She'll be fine and back to her own self in a week or so. Rowan wouldn't want her to be so sad and down, he said, twinning his tail with his mate's. Violet couldn't help but think about everything, though. Why did those rogue rats attack? Why did they have to come in the dead of the night just to massacre them for no reason? So many lives were lost. As she looked around, she saw the bodies scattered around them. Members of the colony were also missing, like Rowan. Rowan was Marigold's mate, a normally flirtatious and hard-working rat. He and Marigold had just their first litter, 5 healthy pups, the future heirs of their colony. He gave his life to protect the colony and to keep his family safe, yet it was useless. A pair of rats had gotten into the nesting den and killed all the pups as quickly as they could. Mothers tried to protect, but Their blood was shed just as quick as their pups. Violet was lucky to only have escaped with minor cuts. She had jumped to her sister's rescue before they could lay a claw on her. The intruders got away before she could look at them, and was too relieved she got there before any more damage could be done. Violet felt her belly coil slightly. It was her fault. If she had just gotten there just a bit quicker, her nieces and nephews would be alive. Wouldn't they? The sound of paw steps made the small rat turn, ears perked up to see who was coming. A black and white rat entered. A single black eye told them who it was. Milkweed, one of the rats from the upper colonies. A small white body next to him followed close, a black patch on his muzzle, shy baby blue eyes quivering. Milkweed's younger brother, Patch. Hanging in Milkweed's maw was a bundle of bright yellow, holding onto it tightly. He didn't speak, walking past them with a blank face. Violet turned to her parents, looking and watching as the newcomer made his way to the nesting den entrance. Her ears went up, beginning to follow him. Her mother and father followed close by, the three waiting outside of the hole looking in. The scent of blood was unbearably thick in the nursery den. "Marigold, get up," Milkweed ordered. The female glanced up before looking away, laying her head back down on the ground. Milkweed didn't speak for a moment, before reaching down and grabbing her by her scruff, pulling her and away from the small balls of still cold fuzz. Marigold went to turn and claw at the other before Milkweed dropped her. Violet put her tail out, keeping her father from charging in. "What is your problem?" the grieving mother asked, her ears pinned back. Milkweed flicked his tail, not caring about the hurt and pleading look of her. Patch's fur stood on all ends, slightly shaking as he spotted the dead bodies. "Motherless," Milkweed stated bluntly, dropping the yellow bundle in front of her. Marigold stood still for a moment, before lowering her head, sniffing the small thing. Her brown eyes looked up at the black and white others. She glanced back down, nosing the yellow rubbery material out of the way. In it was a small, pale-colored pup. Marigold had never seen a rat like this before, but it had to be of some kind. Why else would she have little grabby paws? Where were her ears, though? Or her tail? Why was her muzzle so short? She had only fur on her head and nowhere else. "I found her when we chased the last bit of the invading forces out. She was in a vacant room a bit a ways. She must have been dropped, or else those rogues would have killed her already," Milkweed explained. Marigold held the pup close to her, looking up. "What am I supposed to do with her?" the female hissed. Her eyes narrowed. "I just said to mother it. She's old enough to be weaned, it seems like, but she still needs a mother's attention," he said, before casting a glance at the nest Marigold had been laying in. "You have plenty of time on your paws now anyways." Marigold didn't say a word, looking at the 5 dead bodies of her former litter. She forced herself to look away, bringing the pup to her side. The small pup stirred for a moment, shivering on the cold floor. Marigold drew her closer with her tail, leaning down, rubbing her muzzle against the small creature's head. The warm, soft fur of the rat slowly lulled the pup back to sleep, tiny body still wrapped in the yellow rubbery cloth. Marigold smiled before looking up at them. "I'll take her," she breathed under her breath. "I'll name her 6. She'll be my 6th child and my 6th responsibility. She may be strange, but she'll be a member of this colony like everyone else." "Good to hear," Milkweed said, turning around and leaving, Patch behind him. He paused by Violet and her parents, a look in his blind eye telling others business was dealt with, and that there was nothing that could change it. Whew, okay. I was originally going to do the second half of the prologue, but the art that I had didn't have the second half of the prologue, and it's not really that important anyways. It's mostly just introducing 2 characters who don't really hold a significant outcome in the story. Plus it is explained in this is basically the prologue for The Rat in the Raincoat. And yeah, thank you all for listening. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, let me know, and I plan on trying to do more of these in the future. I'll try to add more drawings too that actually fit, because some of these I had to cut off dialogue and stuff for time purposes and stuff. I was on a big time crunch when making this. And yeah, with that all out of the way, another quick thank you for listening, and yeah, take care.